Good evening, and welcome back to the East Asian Update. Tonight, we are proud to bring you an East Asian Update special, an exploration of Sino-American relations. In order to address current Sino-American issues, we must first understand the history of these two superpowers. Come along, as we experience history's critical events from the eyes of those who bore witness to these influential moments. Our journey begins in northern China at the turn of the 20th century. A group of extremist revolutionaries, who refer to themselves as the Boxers, is gaining financial, moral and physical support from China's masses. The Boxers began their campaign of terror by killing Christian missionaries, originally seeking to dethrone the dynasty, who had ruled the nation for 250 years. The Boxers unexpectedly gained the support of the current empress. Armed with this support, the Boxers then turned their deadly focus on China's foreigners, quickly gaining the attention of the United States. After many foreign dignitaries living in China were killed, the United States began one of the few military operations on Chinese soil, the China Relief Expedition. An international task force entered Peking and quelled the Boxer rebellion 2 years later. In the eyes of the U.S. government, few events were as important to the Chinese-American relationship as the Boxer Rebellion. While it will not be featured in this documentary, another major Chinese event that grabbed American attention was the 1949 Communist Revolution, which added fuel to the Second Red Scare in America. After the revolution, the U.S. government sided with Taiwan, recognizing them as the sole representative of China. For 30 years after the Communist People's Republic of China seized control, this act bred anti-American sentiments throughout the PRC that, while not totally dissolved today, were not assuaged until the 70s, when master diplomat Richard Nixon conferred with communist leader Mao Zedong. In recent history, there have been 3 major factors that influence the Chinese-American relationship. The first recent event that tested and truly shaped the way the Chinese and U.S. governments interact took place on April 1, 2001, 70 miles off the coast of PRC-occupied Hainan. A U.S. Navy spy plane was flying behind Chinese lines on a mission from Okinawa, Japan, when it was surrounded by 2 Chinese fighter jets. One of these jets flew too close to the Navy plane, and they collided, killing the PRC pilot and forcing the Navy plane to make emergency landings on Hainan. The U.S. pilot and the 24 members of his crew were immediately detained and questioned by the Chinese until President Bush made this strongly worded statement and the letter of 2 sorries was delivered.
Our aircraft made an emergency landing at an airfield on China's Hainan Island. Our priorities are the prompt and safe return of the crew and the return of the aircraft without further damaging or tampering. The first step should be immediate access by our embassy personnel to our crew members. I am troubled by the lack of a timely Chinese response to our request for this access.
2001 was a difficult time in Sino-American relations. Merely a few months before, the CIA had been found responsible for bombing the Chinese embassy in Belgrade and killing 3 Chinese citizens. 10 years later, we are still faced with the final and most important aspect of the Chinese-American relationship, the $14 trillion debt. This issue has been long in the making, and therefore has been long affecting our relationship with China and the rest of the world. The recent downgrade in the U.S. credit is one of the few warning signs on a dark road. One can only hope that President Obama and those who succeed him will actively try to better our relationship with China, history's sleeping giant, and the future's next true superpower. While Peter Hessler successfully brought many important Sino-American issues to light, his writing was limited by his foreign background. Had Hessler been a Chinese historian or writer who experienced many of these significant events, he may have been able to provide a more accurate insight of the public reactions to the events. Although his novel may have been better written by one of his subjects, Hessler did achieve his goals to, quote, follow certain individuals across this period 1999 to 2004, recording how their lives were shaped by a changing world, end quote. Hessler also successfully identified many significant events that the U.S. has, and will have their eyes on in the future.